All right. Lower body day.
Lower
Low
body day. Lower
body day.
body quarter.
Yeah. All
Oh,
right. Set it off, girlfriend.
all right. So when we start, I mean, it's April now almost, which means we are upon short season and summertime. And one thing that you always hear people say is, how do I tone my legs up? How do I make my butt look better? All these things. And so the next 3 months of our ignition program are going to focus on lower body. We just finished up core and cardio for the last couple months. This time we're going to focus on lower body, whole body, of course, too, but we're going to put a little bit extra into the legs and butt. So we're going to talk about how to do that the right way, how to actually, what toning up actually means. And if you're
I'm
listening
so
to this,
stupid. I hate that term.
I do too. I do too, because it in,
Strong legs and ass is good for dudes too, by the way. It's not just for females. You don't
yes,
want to I mean dudes who skip leg day like
you can tell they got chicken legs.
you became a meme.
You did.
You're the joke.
There used
So
there
go
used
get
to
your
be
squat on.
a guy at the gym, everybody called him Arms because he had this huge upper body and teeny little legs. That was back in the day. But anyways, 100 squats a day is not gonna do it. Starving yourself is not gonna do it. Run
What's the it? What are we talking about?
Toning up.
Oh, that word.
Yep, getting nice muscly looking legs like Carrie Underwood. I bet you Carrie Underwood's squatting a whole lot.
We really can't use celebrities. I don't think that's fair.
I agree. It's basically their job to do that.
Yeah.
They c
I mean 100 squats a day. If you're going for so what is let's do this. Toning up.
Mhm.
What is this? What does toning up mean?
I mean, what it actually means is that you're building muscle and losing fat on the muscle so that you
Yeah.
can see the
I,
muscle that
I
you've
I
built
feel like people use toning up
as like a slimming down. They
just
think,
just they don't want to be fat.
yeah. And I think people tend to think too that by toning up, it means that they're losing fat and then they'll just see these muscle lines. Like that's not the case. You have to build muscles to
Mhm.
see muscles. So if you're just doing cardio, getting on the treadmill, running every day, that's great and everything. But if you've never strength trained a day in your life, you're not going to see much once you lose that fat.
Steady state cardio is great on the I don't think that like steady state cardio, I don't think that even hit training cardio as the word cardio is to me as arbitrary as the word core.
Mhm.
It's the same like what the fuck does
Everything's
what
cardio. I
does that
mean,
mean, right?
weightlifting is cardio.
But it's about the functionality and the processes involved before, during, and after. So if you're looking to tone up, like let's try to change the vernacular and say I'm looking to build muscle
Yeah.
because
I
if
think
you
that
want to,
scares some people.
well, they're pussies. That's just. I mean, I mean, honestly, I was gonna wonder if that little tidbit we talked about before we got on was gonna come out, and here it is. It's time to change the narrative on some shit. When we were just talking about before we went on the mindset of some people.
Mhm.
It's 2020 fucking 3 fucking years ago. We went into a goddamn lockdown, and everybody got shown. Well, most of the people who don't see things like some of us do, you got to see a bunch of things. What all of a sudden, who was and wasn't quote unquote essential.
Yeah.
And we said from the start, I said from the start, at least, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if you're not going to, per Gary V, if you're not going to come out of this lockdown and this whole world shutdown with a new skill and a new mindset and a new focus, like, what are you doing? Like, fuck is wrong with you? We're here 3 years later. We're still having this talk. So you know what? Stay fat. Fuck it. Honestly, I just, the kicker for me was this is that aha moment where if you're aware enough and tired of feeling a certain way, you know, if you're, the only time you really come to Jesus moment is when you're on your fucking deathbed. God, I wish you would have done this, or if I would have only known that. I'm your deathbed. Call me Mr. Reaper. I'm here right now telling you, you had a chance, and if you wet the bed on it, here's another chance.
Mhm.
Do something about it. Like, if you're gonna complain because 'cause you're naturally a crybaby ass bitch, give yourself something to complain about. Don't complain about the same shit. Because if you're gonna complain about shit as you move forward, complain all day. Cool, that's you. Fine. Bitch about progress. Let other people bitch about staying still. But there's a difference. There's a hierarchy there. You keep yourself moving forward. And what you'll notice is you're not only going to leave behind detractors and excuses, you're going to leave behind that part of you that loves them so much.
Mhm.
So think about that for a minute. When we talk about toning up, what the fuck does that mean? Like as if shit's changed. Okay, cool. I don't want to be jiggling anymore. Cool. What the fuck? I'm gonna go get a pill or one of those little like nut sacks to go sit in. Fuck out of here. Okay, cool. Right? There's always been options, but at the end of the day, all of those supplements and all those tools, even our fit kits, they're all meant to stimulate a natural process of exercise.
Mm,
Right? So if you're gonna do 100 squats a day, cool.
mhm,
It's safe from one standpoint, meaning with no extra barbells and, you don't have extra tools and such, it's
mhm.
basically calisthenics.
Yep.
The problem that you run into is the frequency relative to volume. 100 squats is gonna feel like 200 squats real quick,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And if I was gonna get nerdy on you and you have an imbalance somewhere, it'll be really hard to know what you're feeling and how you're feeling it and, your misses in the diet, you're not gonna get to see where the gaps are in terms of not a macro balance, but if you're overly sore, you're short in your nitros, you're short in your magnesium, there are things that will present themselves through that. Remember I said the before, during, and after process of the weight training, calisthenics is fundamental as shit. I mean, fucking
Mhm.
cavemen didn't have no damn dumbbells. I mean, they had mammoths and shit.
Yep.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, if you're gonna do 100 squats a day, is it gonna eventually tone your legs up? Yes. You know what? Sure it will. It may take a significantly longer amount of time, especially if you're not gonna, follow through in the kitchen
Yeah.
and the rest and the water and da 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 da. It's more than just the exercise itself, of course. That is a great first step.
Yep.
If you wanna do 100 squats a day, do 100 squats a day.
Yep.
I bet my own ass that sooner or later, you're gonna say, "You know what?
It's not enough.
I'm gonna add on 10 crunches a day." And the next thing you know, shocker, you're doing weight training. So just decide
Mhm.
now,
Skip all that.
bitch and moan
Yeah.
as you get lean as fuck. God darn it, this damn shirt make my arm look too big. Hell yeah, good problem to have. Fuck out of here. Oh, I don't wanna bulk up. Okay, go look at the other podcast. Check yourself on that. I'm in a bit of a mood. I've been in a bit of a mood. This has been a very, you know,
Yep.
frustrating last couple of weeks.
Mhm.
But I'm not here, "Woe's me." Fuck all that. Take it head on and move forward, like anyway,
Yep. All right.
100 squats a day, yes, cool, great, awesome. You need more, but it's a good start.
Absolutely. And if when you're really looking to build that muscular look in your legs, you're gonna need I mean, you're doing those squats, you're gonna need proper fundamentals. You're gonna be needing some progressive overload, adding weight over time, proper fat burning, and and proper nutrition, which is like the suckiest, hardest part of it all because
Yeah,
it's not quite as intuitive as the parts in the gym, but it's massively, massively important. Um, so when we talk about proper fundamentals, we're gonna if you're listening to this, that's great, but on the video version, we're gonna drop some videos of good and bad squats and good and bad lunges. A lot of times people will say, "Oh, but I get so much pain in my knees when I squat." And I would say probably 7 to 8 out of 10 times we can fix that in 30 seconds just by changing your form.
yeah,
Some people they're dealing with injuries or past injuries or whatever, and that's different. But if you're sitting too far on your toes, your knees are going to hurt. If you're leaning too far forward, your knees and your back are going to hurt. If you are not distributing your weight properly, it will not feel good, right? So there's when you're squatting, you need to be making sure that your feet are flat, that you're keeping your weight back in your heels, that you're sending your butt back when you go to squat, and that your chest is at about the same angle as your shins. Now, that might mean your knees get close to your toes or your knees go over your toes. That's not necessarily a bad thing so long as your weight is distributed properly. I have really long legs. I cannot squat properly or get low in a squat without my knees going over my toes. It just naturally does that. So, what I have to be careful of is making sure that my weight stays back in my heels so that my weight does not pressure my joints too much. I remember when I first learned how to squat, it took months for me to get this right. Aaron, my husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, he's taught me how to work out, but he couldn't figure out how to get me to do it right. And a trainer walked up one day, she goes, "Just pretend like you're sitting down." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" That cue drove me nuts. People always told me that. I'm just you sit down and stand up
Who
400
told you
times a
that?
day without thinking. A trainer
Where?
at Export walked up to me when I was in the middle of training with him, like, "Let me show you how to do this so you don't hurt yourself." She's like, "Pretend you're gonna sit on his lap." That's what she said to me. And I was like, "Okay." And still 10 minutes later, I was still doing it wrong.
Did you guys used to work together at the club?
No.
Ah, shit. Hey, to each their
Absolutely not.
own.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, I could not figure it out. The only thing that got me to figure it out was to keep my weight in my heels. So those are a couple of different cues that
You
you could
keep your
try,
weight in the
whatever.
heels because you need to people misunderstand the
It's your
primary mover
Mhm.
in a squat is not your quads, it's your ass,
Your hips.
all right? It's no, it's your ass, that's your prime mover. The hips
Mhm.
are your facilitator, but your ass mu your glutes is what is the main driver, like, that shit is what governs how fast you drop.
Mhm.
It's what keeps you balanced in the hips
Mhm.
and is what helps propulsion omnidirectionally as you decide which if you're gonna squat or lunge or shoot from an athlete standpoint, shooting side to side and such.
Mhm.
Getting low, there's a reason why people say the lone man wins. It's always where your power and your base of balance is. I would ar The problem I have with I like that the concept of pretending like you're sitting down works almost always, especially in younger folks, okay?
Just not me.
But the problem with that is when you know you're gonna sit down, you don't think about what you're doing. You just trust that the chair is gonna be there,
You just sit down.
right? So I've always said, and uh, I learned this well both from Stephen Harris is a former trainer that I worked with, a brilliant guy, been in it for like fucking bazillion years, and Dr. Matt Petrie is another one who helped to explain this to me when I was first getting going. Is you learn to squat from an angular standpoint in what's called posterior translation, which means that's when you're gonna put your ass back behind you. Damn the seat shit. If you're a woman, that dude's behind you. You want that. Go ahead and pop it back. Eh, shit. You know what I'm saying? Fuck out of here. I mean, we all grown, right? Okay. So what
Uh-huh.
you do is you go and you stand toes and your nose in contact with a wall, a flat ass wall. Your palms on the wall, your nose is on the wall, your toes are on the wall. Keep your feet about shoulder width apart ish, straight, not angled. Okay? You keep your fucking nose right on the wall. Now you got to do is squat down, keeping your nose in contact with the wall.
Mhm. You can't lean forward
Don't
too
fall.
much.
Well, you won't. Well, if you lean forward and don't turn your fucking face to the side, take it like a champ. Get out of here. It's like the second date shit. Don't turn your head. Just take that motherfucker. You already there. You might as well take it. Shit. Okay. So if I'm facing forward, my nose is on the wall. I'm just gonna. You want to do like this as I go down, and I'm pulling my nose up so you can see.
How smushed it
You
should
can.
be.
Well, not this close because if I'm this close, that means I'm like fighting, and if I'm pushing like this, and if you when you subscribe to the vloggy style on YouTube, you can see my face. I look
Can't
like
even look at
Porky,
you.
right? So if I'm coming down like this, if I'm pushing this close from my nose is in my fucking scalp, okay, then that means my ass is probably gonna be far back, but I'm talking funny because I can't move my upper lip. So what happens is if I'm coming like this and my nose is all the way up past my eyebrows, right? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I look like that dude from red faced dude from Avengers, who's got no nose muscle. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Anyway, so when I'm down, if my nose is like this, that means I'm pushing too much to the fuck you looking at? Because it means I'm pushing too close into the wall, right? I'm squatting down, trying to trail boogers all and shit on the wall, right? But what happens is if I'm this close, then my ass will probably be trying to come out,
Way
but
far back.
I'm gonna have a pinch in my CT junction. I'm gonna do this because I can't even. I gotta let my nose loose because I was actually starting to hurt the
I
boogers
was
that are
gonna
frozen in my
say.
nose. So if my nose is being drugged to my
Uh-huh.
scalp, right?
Mhm.
If I'm squatting down and I'm keeping contact, my hands are my guide in lieu of not having a bar. My toes are there. I'm gonna sense where my knees are at against the wall. Your knees are gonna touch the wall, and that's okay because remind you you're in front of a wall, right? So if I'm squatting down and my nose is up here and it's coming up to my scalp, I'm controlling my descent. There's a point where instead of letting that CT junction or where that the cervical and thoracic spine meet your upper mid back ish, like right about where your shoulder blades are ish, more or less, just for those of you visual, right? You don't want that pinch to come because you don't trust to open the chest cavity up and let that ass cock back and sink down. Okay. So as you descend, that deceleration is now where that's the cue for your glutes to take over control. All right. If you get a butt wink at the bottom, you're looking to especially on the way back up. I've heard 50-50 on why that's good or bad. Just use that to govern range of motion and see if you have pain anywhere. Okay. You may not want to, the problem I have, the problem, I don't mind a butt wink. I think it's
Like when you pull your hips all the way through?
like when you come down and the butt just winks at the bottom.
Oh, it just
Okay.
goes under at the
The
bottom.
problem I have with that is I don't have a problem with it if I know that I'm doing it. It depends on the style of squat that I got going on.
Mhm.
Okay. But if you go too low and your butt kind of dips, inward, then you're asking your hips to translate coming up. And to me,
Right.
that means either you've gone too far too early and you don't have the recruiting processes to accelerate concentrically through the quads, well, through your quads and your glutes to come back up to your standing position the right way, which means that's you sitting back into a chair knowing the chair is going to be there. But this time there ain't no chair,
There's no chair.
right? So if I'm going to come down and my nose is against the wall and I'm going to glide down, and if there's a point, which more than likely, if you've never done it before, will only be a few inches before you start to fall backward,
Mhm.
that is where your natural range of motion is right there in that moment,
Mhm.
honestly. So if you're going to do 100 squats a day, cool.
Do them at that range.
No, don't even like do that 100 times.
Mhm.
Maybe you're not going to be able to. I guarantee you that
Mhm.
because you're going to be burnt up before then. There's no lifespan in the quads to take that and not be frustrated. So do that to teach yourself. Like say take Mondays and say we're to do this on a Monday. Give yourself 100 reps to get 25 good reps. You got 100, you got 75 reps to burn. 100 attempts, not 100 reps. How's that?
Yeah.
Give yourself 100 attempts. All right. You want 25 good ones where you can get all the way down and up will feel like 200 because you have got to go slow and you're going to find where exactly your body begins to recruit glutes
Mhm.
because that's the name of the game. You want to be able to get 100 quality squats in, you have to get into how to use your butt,
Yep.
period.
Definitely.
Anyway,
And similar for lunges. Lunges get real wobbly if you're not keeping that core braced, or if you don't have the proper ankle strength, or if you're not focusing on the muscles that you need to be using in your thighs and your butt, and you're just kind of willy-nilly not thinking about it, you'll wobble. So those are all things that you need to pay attention to in your squat and your lunge. And like I said, if you're watching this on the video, you can see some of those PIPs
mhm.
right here that show you all the right and wrong ways to do that stuff. But once you've got that form down, you have to focus on what's called progressive overload if you want to be building new muscle. Progressive overload is really just a fancy way, and we've put stuff out about this before, so we won't get too into it. But progressive overload is a fancy way of saying that you're adding more volume as you go. And that could be in higher weight, right? So if you're at a gym and you're able to keep loading the barbell heavier and heavier, cool. If you are at home and you have limited access to higher weights, it could be like giving yourself more reps, a higher volume of reps. It could be slowing your reps down so that you're increasing the time under tension.
Mm.
That's a form of progressive overload. So just making sure and that is what stimulates hypertrophy or muscle growth. You will not grow muscle doing the same 10 rep squat with the same weight over and over and over for the next 3 months. You will be disappointed in your results.
You'll get conditioned at doing that,
Mhm.
that 10
You'll get
reps
better at it, it'll
for
be
sure.
easier, and by the end, you'll be like, "It doesn't even feel like I'm working out anymore," because you failed to progressively overload.
This is why people who wanna lose weight fail miserably when they go the boot camp route first,
Mhm,
because you blow your load on the most intense thing possible because you want the return and you're not willing to put the work in through the journey.
mhm,
We think that if we're sweating hard, we're working hard, that somehow that means we're entitled to results. No, the fuck it doesn't.
mhm.
You're entitled to a shower, which you stink ass. Okay. But you gotta save, you gotta work and earn that intensity. You have to build towards it in order to even see what the point
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Otherwise, you're gonna die for no damn reason.
yep, and we sent an email, last week, I think, about fitness watches and how, like, the a high calorie burn is and a long time of working out is not always the best indicator of a workout for exactly that reason. If you're conditioned to work out 2 hours a day at level 10 intensity, well, yeah, that's gonna get easier, but your body is gonna be tired. It's gonna stop doing what you want it to do, and sometimes you need to slow it down, like increasing time under tension, slowing down to increase your weight, even if it means that you have to do less reps for a minute. All of those things are important to helping your body progress.
The worst part about the progressive overloading and hypertrophic focuses, meaning lean tissue, is that you need to give the muscles you're working time in between sets to recover. It's not about drop sets or supersets,
Mhm,
right? Like a drop set is the same exercise but with less weight. You just kind of you keep burning until you're just dead. That's what a
yeah,
drop set is. Like a bench press at 135 pounds for 10, then I drop it to 125 pounds for 15, then I drop it to 95 for 20, and so on and so on. That's a drop set.
mhm,
The superset is like movements or synergistic movements that can accompany or complement the main one that you're doing for with the sole purpose of fatigue or burnout, just with a compound angle. So like bench press 135, my superset would be a chest fly on the cable machine or something like that,
mhm.
right? That's a superset. That's conditioning. It'll feel like you're like doing Superman work because you're going to be, pumped and full of blood and just feeling like hell yeah, you know what I mean?
Mhm,
But that's not how the body works. You need time to recruit the right energy processes. You don't want to necessarily have to go into glycolytic stores,
mhm.
creatine, phosphagen. You don't want to go into those things. You want to stay oxidative, meaning you want to burn fat
Ah,
to build muscle, which means slow and in control. Okay. Make no mistake, when people say tone up, they should mean losing fat. They should mean burning fat or building muscle at the expense of fat.
mhm,
All right. Building lean muscle burns more calories throughout your life because it is a fact. It is a biological fact. Well, your lean tissue is what's considered active tissue,
mhm.
not adipose fat sitting there chilling, waiting for a fucking root beer. Okay, looking for the next motherfucker to try to sit on a chair type shit. No, no. Active tissue is active. That shit's hungry. It
Mhm.
needs shit. You know what's gonna burn? It's gonna burn fat.
This is my favorite ever.
Provided you don't, like, do the smart workout like we're saying, and then you just completely go and just wet the bed in the kitchen.
Yeah,
And even
God.
then,
You're still gonna be building
you're still
muscle
gonna
underneath,
yeah, now you may take 2 steps forward and 1 step back,
but it's happening.
but what you'll notice is if you have the patience to see it through, meaning more than one time, more than one workout, you're gonna notice not just performance in that one movement, but an acceleration and performance overall.
Mhm.
Be patient and watch what happens to the body. That's metamorphosis.
Yep.
That's taking advantage of it being 2023, saying, God damn it, when he said that shit, that was me in 2020 when I couldn't go to work and I realized something, bitch, I could work from home. And you get to see the joys of what it's like. I mean, I get it. I got kids too. And sometimes when kids you want to smack the shit out of because they're loud and just I understand it, but you know what? I also know what it's like to not see one,
Mhm,
and it's terrible to
mhm,
feel guilty for missing stuff all the time, you know what I mean?
mhm.
And now you have an opportunity to look at yourself and go after it and get it. I urge everybody to just reflect on that moment and take this position to act on it.
Absolutely. You walked right into fat burning, which was the next part.
How about that?
But and he's right. If you are
Duh.
I was waiting for that. If you are building all this muscle, you're doing the progressive overload, you're giving your workouts the proper amount of energy, but you're neglecting the stuff in the kitchen, you likely will not be, or if you're going too hard in your cardio days and stuff like that, you likely will not be burning too much fat, which means you'll be building all sorts of muscle in your legs and your whole body and whatever, cool, but you won't see any of it because it'll be stuck under the fat that you're not losing.
What were you talking about with the watches? What were you saying about them? Calories?
Yeah,
Mm.
and
You
how people, like, rely on them so
you
hard.
yeah,
Like,
and
calm
you
down.
may not see the calorie amounts.
Exactly. There yeah. Honestly, some of the days that I have workouts that I log on my watch, I burn less calories overall than on a day I didn't work out, and so it's just
Right.
it's different, and that's we've talked about that,
Yeah.
but, with the fat burning, you need to be making sure that you've got a proper balance of zone 2 and higher intensity interval type stuff mixed throughout your program. If you are constantly just running as hard as you can, you're conditioning yourself maybe, but your body's not using the oxidative processes to help you burn fat. It's burning through your sugars.
And again, that mix doesn't necessarily mean like zone 2 or steady state or
Mhm,
like base building cardio where you can breathe somewhat easily,
mhm.
doesn't necessarily mean it's just running or
Absolutely.
any one, avenue of it. It's
It's
just about cardiovascular
it's where
activity.
your heart rate's at.
Yeah,
And your heart rate can be in the zone 2 range
right,
the entire time you're
right.
lifting. That's zone 2 cardio.
You don't even have to lift to get it to
Mhm.
feel your shit change. Get a
Yep.
fucking thick ass letter from the IRS and you start pumping real quick. Yeah. Shit. You know what I mean?
Yes. The trick with the nutrition part is that in order to build muscle, you need to make sure you have enough fuel. But in order to burn fat, you need to make sure that you don't have too much. And that goes back to macro balances, which is why counting macros and making sure you have that appropriate balance is so dang important. You need a ton of protein to be able to build muscle. You need carbs to feed your muscles the energy in order to build enough to use the protein to make new muscle. But if you're way over on your fats, you're gonna be storing that and you're not gonna be losing that much fat because you're gonna be overly eating in your fats. So if, especially, I mean, anybody, send us a message if you have questions about that. We
You'll
have
start to
tons of
feel
resources.
sluggish too, is
Yeah,
another a feel like a sensation you'll get.
right. So the main thing to note here, the main things that you need to remember are that, first of all, before you do any type of leg anything, you need to make sure that your form is right and that you're not hurting yourself in the process. Because you break your back or hurt your knees or something, you're not gonna be doing much leg training anyways. You need to make sure that you are challenging yourself in your workouts. You're hitting that progressive overload, which is written all through the next 3 months of our ignition program.
Mm.
So we've kind of taken care of that for you, for those of you who are hopping on that. You need to make sure that you're not going too hard, too fast, and conditioning yourself at a high level without really using your metabolic processes as you want them to be used. And you need to make sure that you're following instructions in the kitchen. Sorry, but you do. That's all laid out in there too.
Mhm.
We're kinda down to the wire here if you're talking about summertime and vacations and Memorial
Yeah.
Day and whatever.
Those are things that you just it's not gonna change, man.
Nope.
It's not gonna change. And honestly, I hope it doesn't. I don't think that's not gonna help anybody by introducing another supposed messiah of exercise. You know what I'm saying?
You
If you
said it.
wanna feel that burn, do the wall squats we talked about, do some pulsing squats, staying super ass low,
That'll get
feel
you.
yourself burn, and go from there. But if you wanna get a nice tight ass and if you're a female and you're looking for a tight ass and strong legs and this, and that, and you wanna tone up, you're gonna have to get in the gym. Come or get with the program
Yep,
and start to see what your body can really do once it's given the proper program to follow. Just change them up because if you ain't done it by now, you're running out of time.
yep. Work for it.